Thank you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. Let's get into it. Today, I want to get better at life, and I want to do so by discussing the 8 core habits of failure and how we've got to transform these 8 core habits of failure into the 8 core habits of success. Let's run through this list and let's talk about it. Here's my 8 core habits of failure. I've put this list together over time, and I think this is applicable in business, but also in health and relationships and life, all of these things that we discuss here at the No Days Off podcast. So in no exact order, the 8 core habits of failure. First, we'll start with lack of prioritization. Lack of prioritization, which is really lack of time management. We will fail in business, in health, in life, if we lack the ability to prioritize what's most important. We don't manage our time effectively. Now, we've got to transform that into knowing the skills to prioritize in your business or in your life. So go from a lack of time management to a time management system, having the skills to prioritize. That would lead to a core habit of success. Okay, the next habit of failure, procrastination. Procrastination. If we want to be successful, we've got to transform procrastination into action. The next habit of failure, lack of direction, unclear direction. We have to transform this lack of direction if we intend to be successful. We've got to transform it into what I would say are clear goals, a clear vision. So a habit of failure would be lack of direction. A habit of success would be the opposite, which would be very clear goals and a clear vision, clear direction. Next, a core habit of failure is negativity, a negative mindset. That's got to be transformed if we want to be successful into a positive focus. So failure would be negativity or negative mindset. Core habit of success, though, would be a positive focus. Next, lack of accountability. Lack of accountability is a core habit of failure, and this is really self-accountability more than anything else. Lack of self-accountability. This must be transformed into what Jocko Willink calls extreme ownership. So the opposite of a lack of accountability would be extreme accountability. So core habit of success, extreme ownership. Core habit of failure, lack of accountability. Another core habit of failure, resistance to change. Digging your heels in and resisting change. The opposite of that, where we have to transform if we want to be successful, is a willingness to consider. Willingness to consider. Just a general open mind. Another core habit of failure, chaos. Just general chaos in our world. Lack of order, chaos. The opposite needs to be had. We have to transform this chaos into what I would call systems or a systematic approach. In other words, unplanned to planned. And lastly, the last core habit of failure is isolation. Isolation. In other words, lack of collaboration. You have to transform this isolation and lack of collaboration into communication and collaboration. Communication would be a core habit of success. So I'll run through this list real quick. 8 core habits of failure. Lack of prioritization, which is really a lack of time management, number 1. Number 2, procrastination. Number 3, lack of direction. Number 4, negativity. 5, lack of accountability. Number 6, resistance to change. Number 7, chaos. And number 8, isolation. In order to be successful, we must transform one or all of those habits we may have right now into things that, in fact, are habits that lead to success. Knowing your priorities, getting into action, having clear goals, being positive, taking extreme ownership, having a willingness to consider, having systems in your world, and collaborating/communicating. Now, I want you to think about this list. Maybe go back and listen to this again, just so you're clear. Write them down. I want you to think about times where maybe you've had lack of success, or dare I even say failure. My guess is that one, if not many, of the habits I just ran through showed up in your world. Just take a look. Think about a failure you had and look across this list of 8 that I just gave you and find out which of these showed up. What stands out to me? And what would I have done differently so that I would have had success? Do the opposite here. Think of something you've been successful around. Go through those habits of success that I gave you. Do you see how you honored those 8 habits? Or you at least were close to honoring them? I mean, we're not going to knock it out of the park all the time, but were you close? My bet is, in fact, you were. Now, it's important to note that failure, as we're using it here, failure is not necessarily a bad thing. It's really just a stepping stone, more oftentimes than not, to growth and to future success. So the key is to learn from mistakes and adjust our behaviors accordingly. I think far too few of us actually learn from our mistakes and make adjustments. That's what growing's all about. That's what playing this game is all about. So developing positive habits like I've outlined and developing a resilient mindset can help us overcome these challenges and lead to long-term success. So what I encourage you to do today, go back through, write this list out. Write out the 8 core habits of failure and then what we have to transform into becoming the 8 core habits of success. And I want to challenge you today. I want you to teach these lists to somebody else. Rather than a focusing question, I'm going to challenge you today to teach these 8 core habits of failure and 8 core habits of success to somebody else. When you teach, as much as it is for the other person's benefit, you oftentimes will benefit even more because you are just deepening your knowledge of this subject. And I believe, again, if we want to grow, it's important. It's important that we're learning. We're constantly learning and we're adjusting our behaviors accordingly. That's all I have for you today. The No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. So let's get after it.